This chilling tale follows a young woman forced to move for a new job, only to discover that her seemingly ordinary apartment hides a terrifying secret. The room she settled into was so horrifying that she fled in sheer panic, unable to stay another night. Buckle up, because what happened next will haunt your dreams. Before we dive into our scary story, we would like to ask everyone to like and subscribe to support us in continuing to bring you more terrifying tales in the future. This story took place in an apartment in Nonthaburi province. The entire incident occurred around 8 to 9 years ago. If we go back about 9 years, at that time, Miles was in university and got to know a woman named Nicole. Nicole was 2 years younger than Miles when they were both still in university. The two were quite close, but after Miles graduated and started working, Nicole continued her studies. Due to this time gap, Miles and Nicole didn't get to see each other often, and eventually, they drifted apart and lost contact. Time passed for about 3 to 4 years. One day, Miles went out to celebrate a friend's birthday at a restaurant, which was a pub and restaurant combo, offering food, draft beer, and live music. Miles was sitting and drinking with his friends as usual. When the waitress came to serve the beer, she was a cute young woman. At that moment, Miles felt a sense of familiarity, thinking that her face looked very familiar. However, since she had makeup on and was wearing a hat, it was hard for him to recognize her clearly, but he felt certain that he had seen her before. After the young woman served the beer at their table, Miles got a clear look at her face and thought to himself, "Is this Nicole?" He then asked her, "Are you Nicole?" The young woman turned and smiled, replying, "Is this Miles?" It was clear that Miles had run into someone he knew. As mentioned before, Miles and Nicole had been quite close during their university days, but they had lost touch afterward and hadn't kept in contact. Miles then asked Nicole casually, "So, you're working here as a beer promoter?" Nicole replied, "Yes." However, at that moment, Miles couldn't understand why someone like Nicole, who was beautiful and intelligent, would take up a job as a beer promoter instead of pursuing another career. Nonetheless, Miles didn't continue the conversation with Nicole since it was her work time. He asked for her contact number so they could meet up and catch up later. Nicole gave him her number. About 2 days after that incident, Miles called Nicole and arranged to meet her. They decided to meet at a 24-hour coffee shop. When they met, they chatted as old acquaintances who hadn't seen each other in a long time. Miles asked, "Nicole, why did you take up a job as a beer promoter? It's a risky job. Have you encountered anything strange?" Nicole explained, "I took up the job because a friend recommended it, saying the pay was good, so I decided to give it a try. But to answer your question about encountering anything strange, if you're asking about people, then no. But recently, I did have a ghostly experience." Hearing that, Miles perked up immediately, as he was a fan of ghost stories. He asked Nicole eagerly, "What happened? Tell me about it." Nicole began to tell her story. After she graduated, she was unemployed and looking for a job, but nothing seemed to come her way. Then one day, a senior approached her and asked if she wanted to try being a beer promoter. The senior mentioned that Nicole had a pretty face and that attractive people always had job opportunities in this field. The work was good and the pay was good too. Nicole had nothing to lose at that point, so she decided to give it a try. If she didn't like the job or the money wasn't good, she could always quit. With that mindset, Nicole started working as the senior had suggested. Once she tried working as a beer promoter, she realized it wasn't that bad. The work wasn't too demanding, and the pay was good, not to mention the tips from the customers. Nicole continued working in this role steadily for about a month. After she got the hang of the job, another restaurant owner called her and asked if she could work at his restaurant. He guaranteed that the minimum pay would be higher than what she was currently earning. However, the restaurant was in Nonthaburi. He suggested that she come and try it out first if she was interested. When Nicole heard about the guaranteed higher pay, she was eager to try it out. She thought it would be a great opportunity if the pay was indeed better. When she started working as a waitress at this new restaurant, she found that she really liked it. Both the owner and the staff were very friendly, and everyone got along well. Nicole felt comfortable there and wanted to continue working at this place. However, since she lived near Victory Monument, commuting to and from Nonthaburi wasn't practical. The only way to work there without difficulty was to move closer to Nonthaburi. So, after some consideration and calculations, she decided to find a dormitory near her new workplace. At that moment, Nicole called the restaurant owner to confirm, saying, "Excuse me, I'd like to come and work at your restaurant. However, I have a problem because I haven't found a place to stay yet. If I'm going to work with you, I'll definitely need to move to Nonthaburi." The restaurant owner reassured her, saying, "Oh, no problem. We can sort out the accommodation issue. There's a girl at the restaurant who rents a dorm room and lives alone. You can stay with her for a few days until you find your own place." Hearing this, Nicole felt relieved and thought it would be a good way to start her new life there. She packed only her clothes and made her way to the restaurant in Nonthaburi. Upon her arrival, the restaurant owner invited Nicole upstairs for a chat. In the room, there was a young woman who appeared to be about the same age as Nicole. The restaurant owner introduced them, saying, "Nicole, this is Pam. Pam also started working here recently and doesn't have a place to stay yet. I suggest you two find a dormitory together. If it works out, you'll save some money. But if living together becomes uncomfortable, you can always move out separately later." Both Nicole and Pam thought it was a good idea since it would give them a chance to make a new friend and also save on monthly expenses. Nicole got to know Pam, and they hit it off well, finding themselves to be quite compatible. After that, they started searching for a dormitory together, with the intention of finding a place close to their workplace, the restaurant, so they could commute easily. During their search, they came across a 5-story apartment building. At first glance, it seemed quite old and run down, with peeling exterior paint, indicating that it had been built a long time ago. However, since it was close to their workplace, just a 2 to 3 minute walk, they decided to check it out first. They went inside and met the apartment caretaker. Nicole asked, "Excuse me, are there any rooms available for rent here?" The caretaker responded, "Yes, there's only one room left on the 3rd floor. Would you like to see it?" Nicole then asked about the rent. "How much is the monthly rent here?" The caretaker replied, "The room is 1,500 baht per month." Nicole was surprised by the low price. Only 1,500 baht? Why is it so cheap? She wondered, as typical rents started at 2,000 to 2,500 baht per month. She thought perhaps the room might not be in good condition or nice looking, but decided it was worth checking out first. If the room wasn't satisfactory, they could always look elsewhere. The caretaker led them to the room on the 3rd floor. Since the apartment didn't have an elevator, they had to use the stairs. As they walked up the stairs, they noticed that the hallway felt damp, musty, and a bit smelly. The building was entirely concrete, with no natural light coming in, making the corridors quite dark. Upon reaching the third floor, Nicole saw that each door had shoes placed outside, indicating that all 5 rooms were occupied, except for the one they were going to see, which had no shoes outside. This confirmed that the other rooms were all occupied. Nicole asked the caretaker, "Are people allowed to leave their shoes outside their rooms here? Isn't there a risk of theft?" The caretaker replied, "Oh yes, you can leave your shoes outside. No one will steal them. We have CCTV cameras here." Nicole looked up to check the cameras and saw that they were indeed there, but they were covered in dust and cobwebs. She wondered if they were functional, given their neglected state. The lenses were obscured by dust, making it hard to tell if they were operational or just for show. When they finally reached the room, the caretaker unlocked and opened the door. Nicole was pleasantly surprised to see that the room was well organized and quite spacious. However, it did look old and worn out, consistent with the building's overall condition. Upon entering the room, Nicole and Pam immediately noticed a musty smell, similar to the hallway. Despite this, they were impressed by the fact that the room was fully furnished with a bathroom, furniture, a refrigerator, a wardrobe, and even a TV. After thoroughly inspecting the room, they discussed their options. They found the room appealing, especially considering the rent was only 1,500 baht per month, which would be even more affordable when split between them. They agreed that this room was a great deal and decided to take it, knowing they could save a significant amount of money each month. After living there for about a day or two, everything seemed normal and uneventful. However, on the third day, after work or even on their days off, Nicole and Pam would go out to buy groceries and food to eat in their room. After finishing their meals, they would store the leftovers in the refrigerator. The first strange thing Nicole noticed was that when she took the food out of the fridge to reheat and eat again, the taste of the food would change. It differed from its original flavor. For example, if they bought tom yum soup, it typically had a balance of sour, sweet, creamy, salty, and spicy flavors. However, after storing it in the fridge and reheating it, some of these flavors would be missing. The soup would taste less sour, less salty, less spicy, and overall more bland. This odd occurrence went on for about 2 to 3 days. Nicole then asked her friend, "Hey Pam, do you feel the same way I do? Does the food taste different after we reheat it?" Pam responded, "Yeah, I feel the same. At first, I thought it was just me." Despite their suspicions, neither of them knew what was causing the change in the food's taste. Until one night, both Nicole and Pam went to bed as usual. After Nicole had fallen asleep, she felt like she heard something. It was a thudding noise, like someone knocking or hitting something. When Nicole heard it, she groggily opened her eyes to look around but saw nothing. Since there was nothing there, she didn't pay much attention and went back to sleep. A few days passed after that night, almost a week later, and Nicole felt that every time she fell asleep, she would hear the thudding noise again and again throughout the night. It was as if every time she drifted off, she would hear the noise, always during that state of being half awake and half asleep. In the morning, driven by curiosity, Nicole asked her friend, "Hey, have you heard anything these past few nights?" Her friend responded, "Yeah, I've heard it too." Initially, Nicole was surprised, and so was Pam. They both wondered what the noise was and where it was coming from. Then came the night when something significant happened. That night, Nicole took a shower and went to bed as usual. However, just as she had experienced before, Once she fell asleep and was in that half-awake, half-asleep state, she started hearing the thudding noise again. This time, she told herself that if she heard the noise again, she would wake up, open her eyes, and try to find out where the sound was coming from, whether it was from the neighboring room or if someone next door was doing something. Sure enough, after the thudding noise started, Nicole opened her eyes. The room was quite dark since they had turned off the lights for the night. As her eyes adjusted to the darkness and started to focus, she began to make out something in the room. What she saw was the silhouette of a woman, clearly identifiable by her long hair, but Nicole couldn't make out her facial features or details due to the darkness. Nicole saw this woman sitting on top of the refrigerator. The woman was swinging her legs back and forth, and the thudding noise was actually the sound of the woman's heels hitting the refrigerator in a rhythmic pattern. When Nicole saw that, she was shocked and terrified. The scene she witnessed was a woman sitting on top of the refrigerator, her face not turned towards the bed where Nicole was lying, but tilted in another direction. Nicole didn't know what to do. She was too scared to wake her friend or make any noise, fearing that if she woke her friend and the woman heard, she might turn around or get down from the refrigerator. Her mind was racing with all sorts of frightening possibilities. In the end, Nicole gathered her wits, grabbed her phone and wallet, and ran out of the room immediately. She didn't wake or inform her friend Pam, who remained asleep on the bed. When Nicole ran down to the lobby, it was quite dark there too. In the dormitory, the lights were turned on intermittently, with one light on and one off. Moreover, it was an old dormitory, so the lights weren't very bright. If you ask about the caretaker or staff, there weren't any, as it was very late at night and no one was there. What Nicole could do was quickly call a senior colleague she knew from work and ask if they could come pick her up. When she made the call, she felt disheartened at first because she called multiple times, but no one answered. It was very late, around midnight or even 1 or 2 in the morning. However, Nicole kept calling until the senior finally answered. As soon as the senior answered, Nicole said, "Can you come pick me up right now?" However, she didn't explain the problem or why she needed to be picked up. She implied that if the senior wanted to know, they should come first, and she would explain later. Once they arranged the pickup, the senior asked, "Where should I pick you up?" Nicole responded, "At Diamond Apartment. Please come get me." However, after the senior heard the name of the apartment that Nicole mentioned, he was shocked and sounded surprised. He asked Nicole, "Nicole, do you live in this apartment? Do you live with Pam here? Where is Pam right now?" Nicole replied, "Pam is with me, but can you not ask anything for now? Can you just come and pick me up quickly?" After that, they hung up the call. They waited for about 5 minutes before the senior arrived. At first, Nicole thought that the senior might come alone on a motorcycle. However, what she saw was that the senior drove a car and brought along 2 friends, 1 woman and 1 man. When the senior reached the front of the apartment, he parked the car with the engine running and the lights on. He then walked towards Nicole's apartment because that spot had the brightest light. When the senior and Nicole met, he asked, "And Pam? Where is Pam? Isn't she with you?" Nicole responded, "Pam is in the room, but I'm not going up there. I'll try calling her instead." Then Nicole tried calling Pam. After about 4 to 5 seconds, Pam answered the call, sounding drowsy. She asked, "Oh, Nicole, when did you go out? Weren't you in the room earlier? Did you go out to get some food? Why are you calling? Is something wrong?" Nicole quickly said, Pam, "Can you come down to the lobby to meet me?" Pam asked, "Why? What's going on? Why do you want me to come down?" But right after Pam asked what was going on, her voice was cut off by a loud scream that echoed through the room. Then, there was the sound of a door opening and slamming shut. However, the phone call wasn't disconnected. It seemed like Pam saw or encountered something that terrified her, causing her to scream and drop the phone and ran out of the room in a panic. Less than 2 minutes later, Pam came running down to the lobby, looking extremely frightened. She was trembling and couldn't speak properly. When Nicole saw her friend in such a terrified state, she tried to comfort her, saying, "It's okay. Don't be scared. It's all right now. You have friends with you." Nicole consoled Pam and they got into the senior's car together to go to his house. When they arrived at the senior's house, he asked them repeatedly why they were staying at that apartment. Nicole said she didn't know. They chose to rent there because it was close to work. The senior then asked if they knew what had happened there. Nicole and Pam looked confused and curious, wondering what he was talking about. What the senior told them at that moment was that this apartment had a history. 2 or 3 years ago, there had been a murder there. At that time, there were 2 construction workers, a husband and wife, living in the apartment. The husband found out that his wife was having an affair with someone else. Enraged, he argued, fought, and drank heavily until he was completely intoxicated, losing control. He caused such a loud commotion that other residents came out to see what was happening. After the argument ended, everything went completely silent. 3 days later, the news came out. Residents of the dormitory had noticed a foul smell, but couldn't pinpoint its source. The smell persisted for a day or two, becoming unbearable by the 3rd day, prompting them to report it to the lobby. Given that the building was old, there was no security guard, and the owner was a woman. When they knocked on the door and received no response, they asked a male resident to help break the doorknob to open the room. When they finally opened the door, the stench was overwhelming, making everyone gag. Inside, it was clear something terrible had happened. There were blood stains, pus, flies, and maggots all over the floor. The trail of blood led to the refrigerator, indicating that something was inside. At that moment, the owner was too afraid to open the refrigerator. They called the police to investigate and see what was inside. When the police and rescue officials arrived, they instructed everyone to wait outside the room and set up a police line barrier. Only the police and rescue officials were inside the room. As the officials prepared to open the refrigerator door, everyone waited anxiously, dreading what might be inside. As soon as the officials opened the refrigerator door, a woman's body fell out. The stench was overwhelming, and blood and pus slowly oozed out. The body was in an advanced state of decomposition, indicating it had been there for several days. The sight was gruesome. Upon witnessing this, everyone was shocked. The officials handled the body, and the police took care of the investigation and the criminal involved. Following this incident, all the residents on the 3rd floor gradually moved out. Those who had seen the horrific scene were terrified, and the news spread by word of mouth. As the story of the murder spread, everyone who learned about it became scared and decided to move out. Eventually, the apartment became uninhabited. Only unaware newcomers like Nicole and her friend ended up renting there. After the senior told the story, Nicole said, "Hey, that's not true. You said no one lives on the 3rd floor, but when I went up to see the room, there were other people's shoes in front of the doors." The senior replied, "Yeah, Those are fake shoes placed there to trick people into thinking the rooms are rented. In reality, no one lives on that floor. When Nicole and Pam heard this, they were even more scared and anxious, wondering what kind of building and room they were in. The senior then asked Nicole, "So, tell me what happened. Why did you call me to pick you up?" Nicole recounted everything that had happened to her. She explained that every night after going to bed, she would hear a noise. When she opened her eyes, she saw a woman sitting on top of the refrigerator, dangling her legs and swinging them back and forth, causing her feet to hit the refrigerator. Upon hearing this, Pam said, "Hey, I saw the same thing. I saw a woman sitting there, dangling her legs from the refrigerator too." But Pam had an even more terrifying experience. When she saw the woman was staring directly at her. After learning the truth about everything that had happened, both Nicole and Pam decided not to continue renting the apartment. Fortunately, they encountered the ghost soon after moving in, so they didn't have many belongings to pack up, just their clothes. When they went to move their things out, the owner asked why they were leaving so quickly. At that moment, Nicole felt both angry and annoyed, wondering why they had been given such a room without any warning about its history. Nicole then told the owner everything they had experienced. The owner quickly responded, "There's nothing there anymore. That incident happened a long time ago, and I've already had a monk perform a ritual to expel the spirit. There are no ghosts left." However, Nicole didn't believe the owner anymore. She was skeptical about whether a monk had really been invited to perform the ritual. After all, she had just seen the ghost the previous night. Unsure if the owner was lying, Nicole decided that moving out would be the best way to ensure peace of mind.